I mean, you started as a generalist, and I think you're like, my whole opinion is that I personally think everyone should be a generalist, learn the lay of the land first, because it also is something that you don't know what you don't know, but you also, there might be certain things that come along. You're like, oh, I never knew that I like dynamics, or I didn't know that, ZBrush was a thing. Like, this is really fun. I think it is necessary at some point to start specializing. I think most people get confused by that means that you're only doing one thing. But I think it's more that, as you're saying about master of one, but really still having surrounding skill sets. Like, I think it's more that if you do everything, people aren't really going to know how to assign you to something. But if you can do everything, but you excel at lighting, or you excel at rigging, character modeling, whatever it might be, at least then mentally people can place you. They know, like, that's your strength, but they also know that they can utilize you elsewhere. What are your thoughts on being a generalist starting out, and kind of like the path for an artist to kind of move up in their career?
Yeah, I mean, like, I started with rigging and then moved more into a generalist role, and I think that that could help it, for people that are just getting into it, keep it from being overwhelming, right? It can be overwhelming. There's a lot to do. Like, I mean, when you're creating something in CG and in VFX and stuff, you're literally mimicking the world, all of it, like every aspect. You gotta, like, I know so much about things. We all do, right? We all know, as VFX artists, we know more about like dumb little things that we never thought we would know about, just because we've had to recreate it once, and like birds, right? Like, for just as an example, like, we've done how many, commercials and shows with birds in them, and like having to know how, like, the wing folds up, or like, or corn. We did a lot of commercials
corn as well.
Corn, yes, exactly. Like, we did so many commercials for like GMOs and corn back in the day that, like, I know way more than I would ever think I would have known in this part of my life about corn and what the dirt in the field should look like at different times of the year and all of that good stuff. The generalization will come, I think, as you gain more experience and just sort of embrace it and lean into it, because it is an ever evolving thing. There is, I think, smaller and smaller windows for people to be hyper specialized, because things are moving faster, just as competition ticks up, and like streaming services has done us all a kind of a service, right? Because there's a glut of things going on now. It's not just Fox, ABC, NBC, or all the big names that are taking up all the airwaves, and then it's not just the big picture shops for features and things like that where you can have very specialized people that only do one certain thing. I think animation is one of the last bastions of that. But with the glut of content there is now, things are speeding up, and people need to be more nimble, because the shops need to be more nimble, right? Like, we can only, like I was saying, like, any given studio can only hire so many people, and having people that are nimble is going to pay off in dividends for everyone. And so, like, if I were getting into it now, I mean, yeah, it's always hindsight's 2020, right? Like, knowing what I know, right? But yeah, I would definitely say try to find one thing that really enjoys you, and then figure out what steps in that pipeline are either in front of you or behind you, and maybe pick up on some of that, right? If you're a rigging TD, like I had that, I was terrible for the first, couple of years. I loved to rig, but I hated to animate. Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, I'm not going to use the end product that I'm trying to make for somebody, and then like get confused when they complain about it. It's going to be important moving forward, especially with the things moving the way they are, moving into real time, whether it is Unreal or Unity or any of the other game engines that are out there. If you're working in games and stuff like that, it's impossible to be specialized in just a single thing.
Just in general though, like the more kind of boxed in you are, it's very hard for you to grow, because especially as certain things evolve, it might become easier and easier and easier. But if you're not growing as an artist and you're not keeping your finger on the pulse, then it limits you and where you can go further down the line, which is so important.